Vedas, as unauthorized animal sacrifices were being performed under the name of the Vedas. For this circumstantial purpose, Vaishnava worship Lord Buddha, but do not follow the teachings presented by that incarnation. Okay. Keshava tova jagat vichitra Karma vipake bhavavana dhamai vipake bhavavana mami ekal ranga bahu chitta Acharya Ashtotar Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Shripada Paramahansa Parivijaka Acharya Ashtotar Shrimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopaka Vinash Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mathura Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Tulasi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki. All glories to the Assembled Devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Assembled Devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Assembled Devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Shivaya, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Shrimati Bhakti Vikasa Swami. Okay, reading from, before I do that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Reading from chapter 2, canto 3, text number 10. Chapter 2. Canto 3, chapter 2, text number 10. Yeah, sorry, I went the other way. Okay, it's a chapter entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So, here, we got it up? Who's going to bring it up? Quick? Okay. Devasya Mayaya Sprashtha Ye Cha Anyat Asat Ashitaha Bhramyate Dhihi Tat Vakyaihi Atmani Upta Atmanaha Harau. Okay, got it? Up, go up. Devasya Mayaya Sprishta Ye Chanyad Asad Ashitaha Bhramyate Dhiranatad Vakyai Atmani Uptatmano Harau. Devasya Mayaya Sprishta Ye Chanyadasad Ashitaha Bhramyate Dhirna Tadvakyai Atmani Uptatmano Harau. Devasya Mayaya Sprishta Ye Chanyad Asad Ashitaha Bhramyate Dhirna Tadvakyai Atmani uptatmano haro. Please repeat. Yes. Devasya Maya Sprishta. Okay. All right. So, Devasya of the personality of Godhead. Maya by the influence of the external energy. Sprishtaha infected. Ye all those. Cha and. Anyat others. Asat illusory. Ashitaha being taken to. Brahmyate bewildered. Dihi intelligence. Na not. Tat of them. Vakyehi by those words. Atmani in the Supreme Self. Uta Atmanaha surrendered souls. Haro under the Lord. So turn this up a little bit because so I don't have to like speak right into it. Okay. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Under no circumstances can the words of a person persons bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord deviate the intelligence of those who are completely surrendered souls. Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to all the evidences of the Vedas. He is accepted by all Acharyas, including Sripada Shankara Acharya. But when he was present in the world, different classes of men accepted him differently, and therefore their calculations of the Lord were also different. Generally, persons who had faith in the revealed scriptures accepted the Lord as he is, and all of them merged into great bereavement. How do I say this? Bereavement. When the Lord disappeared from the world. In the first canto, we have already discussed the lamentation of Arjuna and Yudhishthira, to whom the disappearance of Lord Krishna was almost intolerable up to the end of their lives. The Yadavas were only partially cognizant of the Lord, but they were all also glorious because they had the opportunity to associate with the Lord, who acted as the head of their family, and they also rendered the Lord intimate service. The Yadavas and other devotees of the Lord are different from those who wrongly calculate him to be an ordinary human personality. Such persons are certainly bewildered by the illusory energy. Thus they are hellish and are envious of the Supreme Lord. The illusory energy acts very powerfully on them because in spite of their elevated mundane education, such persons are faithless and are infected by the mentality of atheism. They are always very eager to establish that Lord Krishna was an ordinary man who was killed by a hunter due to his many impious acts in plotting to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and Jarasandha, the demoniac kings of the earth. Such persons have no faith in the statement of the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is unaffected by the reactions of work. Namam karmani limpanti. According to the atheistic point of view, Lord Krishna's family, the Yadu dynasty, was vanquished due to being cursed by the Brahmanas for their sins committed by Krishna in killing the sons of Dhritarashtra, etc. All these blasphemies do not touch the heart of the devotee of the Lord because they know perfectly well what is what. Their intelligence regarding the Lord is never disturbed. But those who are disturbed by the statements of the Asuras are also condemned. That is what Uddhava meant in this verse. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunitamina Tasmai Shivira Namah Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnu Stapitamina Bhutale Swam Rupakadamayam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatakamanam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagartatam Sagana Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishivanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarvesha Kripa Sindhubhya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashthagatale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namani Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashthagatale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharya Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatariya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tene Smarana Hai Vigna Vinashana Nayasya Hai Nijavanchita Puranam Jnanananda Mayam Devam Nirmas Pratikakritam Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hai Givam Pasmahe. Okay, so today we're discussing this section of remembrance of Lord Krishna, specifically the Yadava dynasty is being discussed, that they were able to remember him. They were with the Lord. Their pastimes of the Yadus are described, how they were experienced devotees in the previous verse, learned and expert in psychic study. Over and above this, they were always with the Lord in all kinds of relaxations, and still they were able to know him as the one supreme who dwells everywhere. It's interesting. Prabhupada says in this purport, the Yadavas were only partially cognizant of the Lord, even after that verse. But anyways, the main point here being discussed is that the intelligence of a devotee is never deviated from devotional service independent of his situation. Whether he may be in a situation where the platform of devotional service is being criticized or questioned or debated against, and seemingly they may present so many arguments towards devotional service. So a devotee, under no circumstances can the words of persons bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord deviate the intelligence of those who are completely surrendered souls. And interesting point Prabhupada makes about this is that even those here, Prabhupada says that those who are disturbed by the statements of the asuras are also condemned. So it's not just the pure devotees of the Lord who surrendered. Even those who are practicing devotional service, they should not become bewildered or disturbed by hearing statements from the demons. So one key point that Prabhupada often said is that religion without philosophy is sentimentalism. It's sentimental. And philosophy without religion, mental speculation. All right, come on, put that stick away. All right. Mental speculation. Fanaticism. Philosophy without religion is mental speculation also. Fanaticism. I thought religion without philosophy is fanaticism. Huh?
Religion without philosophy.
Yeah, religion without philosophy is fanaticism. And then, or sentimentalism. And then you got, when you're sentimental, you can be fanatical, because you're just on the basis of feeling, you feel very strongly about it. So, and then if you're, philosophy without religion is just mental speculation. So, we see that quite often, that there is so many isms in this world. There's Muslims, there's the Christians, there's this religion, that this ism, that ism. So each ism, each religion has its own set of ideas and way of life, maybe sometimes also. And if you spend some time with them, any particular religion, whether it may be atheistic or, like I was saying, Christian or Hindu, or you spend some time with them, and each and every individual in that sect believes that they're doing the best thing. Right? I don't think you'll ever find a Christian saying, well, no, my thing is not the topmost thing. I'm just doing it because I'm just doing it. But you'll find any Muslim you approach, and any Hindu you approach, any Christian you approach, that they have firm belief or faith that what they're doing is the highest form of religion you can practice in this life. And generally every religion that thinks like that, or pretty much everyone thinks like that, they say that the other isms or the other religions are false. That we are real and the other religions are false. And they're pretty deeply invested in that. It seems almost, when we actually approach them, it seems that they can't see their own faults. Like, when we approach different religions and we talk with different religions, and we ask them certain questions, immediately there's some philosophical issues there. But it seems that somehow or other they are able to just overlook it. Just like we had one personality who admitted, well, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness makes sense and it's perfectly fine. And I know there's problems in this other religion that I'm going to go to, Christianity specifically, but I'll just blindly accept it and I'll be okay. Even though there is issues within that philosophy. Similarly with the Muslims, similarly with the atheists, they're also a religion. It's not that they're exempt from that. They say, well, we follow no religion, but they have their own religion. The no belief in God is a religion in itself also. Some sort of sect. So they all believe what they're believing in is the topmost thing. And what we believe also, you can say, what we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're reading the Bhagavad Gita, we're reading all of these things, and we're hopefully also convinced that we're practicing the topmost thing. Otherwise, why would we give things up? So it seems to be a pretty common trend that amongst each group, even if you look in material society, the philanthropy groups, for them, they're doing that's the highest thing. They're not as gung-ho as about some of the religions, but for them, this is the topmost thing. This is the best thing you could do for the world. Save the whales, eye camps, whatever, feed the children, save save water, save soil, all of this nonsense. It is the highest form of philanthropy that you could do, or it's the best thing you can do with your life, such and such. Therefore, they push you, they advertise it, they try to pull you in to take upon their beliefs or their ideas of life. So, and naturally we want to do the best thing, right? I don't think anybody wants to settle for like the, second best, or the whatever I can get, I'll settle for. That generally happens if you just like completely just you tried so hard and you couldn't do it, and then you just settle for whatever you can get. But in specific cases of religion, one is generally convinced that his way of life or his process is the topmost thing. So how do we even determine that? Because, just like one example, like I cannot even, you can't see your own faults often. Like the Christians cannot see their own faults. They're just completely faith-based, everything. Even if you determine that, even if you establish that and you destroy them, still, they won't be able to, they won't accept Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience. They won't accept it. Even the atheist, you defeat the atheist, they won't accept the platform of Krishna consciousness. So the faith is pretty strong, because it has the ability to, even when there is difficulties in understanding, has the ability to carry you, right? That's how the Christians are. They're carried by faith. And so are we, to a great extent. Prabhupada says that in this Ashardadhana Purusha, what is it? Purusha Dharmasya. Translation?
Those who do not have faith in this devotional service cannot attain the own conqueror of the enemies. They return to the path of birth and destiny.
Yeah. So in this verse, Srila Prabhupada comments in the purport that that faith is the single most important thing in one's Krishna consciousness. Shraddhavan jana hai bhakti adhikar. That in order to attain bhakti, one must have a deep level of faith. And that is where devotional service actually even begins. If you look at the what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given in his Madhurya Kadambini, that it begins with Shraddha, some level of faith. And then what comes after Shraddha? Anybody know? Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. And then Bhajana Kriya. And then Anartha Nivritti. And then? Nishta comes after, I forget also. Nishta and then Ruchi and then. So, but the main point being that, main point being there is a level of faith. Without that, one can't actually function in anything in this world. And that point is made again and again, that you must have some level of faith to go to school, that your teacher is a teacher and he's going to, give you the proper education you need. That requires faith. Well, science functions on the level of, we don't believe in faith, we believe in knowledge. We believe in absolute knowledge. Well, we're the representatives of absolute knowledge. That is the idea of science. That, we're going away from faith and we're coming to the level of just knowledge, experimental and mathematical knowledge, which is seemingly absolute to them. But there's this Sadaputta Prabhu has this origins, a series of lectures, which the Bhakti program young men will go through in a few days. I'm just preparing a few things to go through this origins lectures. It establishes Srila Prabhupada was very heavy on establishing Krishna consciousness as a fact, or that God exists is a fact, or that there is the matter and there is spirit. He was specifically wanted this established among the scientists, and Sadaputta Prabhu is saying in this that Srila Prabhupada was very strong in this. He says like this, he says, we should grab them by the throat. We shall grab them by the throat. And we shall pin them against the wall and question their beliefs. He would say like that, we're not ordinary sadhus and sannyasis. We're here to fight. Prabhupada said like that, we're here to fight. Fight against this atheistic worldview that they are cheaters, that dharma is meant to be established, and those who are representatives of dharma, they're meant to establish that and destroy the demons. So these people, they're misleading society by propagating the idea that everything comes from matter. So one who is a follower of dharma, he is meant to defeat adharma. That those who are cheaters, those who take people down the path of hellish life, the devotees of the Lord, they meant to establish Dharma. Just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends for that reason. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. What is it? Abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami. Yeah? Tadatmanam srijami. I forget. So that just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to establish Dharma and defeat the demons, annihilate the miscreants. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord do the same with the sword of knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada would say like this: these atheists, they're cheating people at Mass, and we shall grab them by the throat. Who speaks like that? We're not ordinary sadhus. So Srila Prabhupada specifically wanted to expose the rascals. He would say like that: I shall call them rascals. They are rascals. So Srila Prabhupada wanted that done with the atheists. The fact that they're representing themselves as absolute knowledge is completely false. Because Sadhaputta Prabhu makes the point in these set of lectures that, if you know a little bit anything about physics, that they specifically use what's called the universal constant factor, and that factor is dependent on relativistic theory and some quantum theory, I forget now. And the order of magnitude, the constant is meant to be the same, but one constant you get out with the order of magnitude of 28, if you know what that means. There is 28 zeros behind the 1, 10 to 28. That is the difference of error. Generally in science, you can only accept something if it's within a certain boundaries, generally within 4 or 5%, something like that. But the scientist's basis of knowledge with the relativistic theory is a big part of forming the idea of how the universe came about. And then quantum theory, quantum field theory, I believe. That is also another big part of understanding more the micro the atoms and how they function. It's on the basis of completely, the order of magnitude of the error is so large, is ridiculous, and they don't know what to do about it. So they've just left it. And to the ordinary man, what do you know? Just to even hear quantum field theory is like, what the hell is that? Right? To hear relativistic theory or the cosmic constant, whatever. It's like, what the hell are those? You don't want to know what the hell that is. So people are foolish. We just accept on the level of faith. Why? Because they can show a few things, like this iPhone function. They can build a few cars. They can do this and that. They can manipulate the material energy to present themselves as authorities of existence. Yes, we can explain everything. But actually, if you look into their work, it is highly based on just faith. It seems like it's not based on faith. Well, math is absolute. 1 plus 1 is 2. Right? So mathematics, they have mathematics. On that basis of mathematics, you have physics. But actually, that everything they do, they cannot show. They have all of these theories, but they cannot show those theories. Their idea that matter, spirit comes from matter, or life comes from matter, they cannot show. Srila Prabhupada said, we shall specifically attack on this principle. He wrote to his scientist disciples like this. He said, if you want to argue with the scientists, you argue on this basis. Life comes from life. They shall not be able to defeat us. They cannot touch us. So Srila Prabhupada, but he specifically wanted the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to be presented in the modern way. Nobody's going to accept, well, Srila Prabhupada is here in this purport saying, Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the evidence of the Vedas. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. You go in front of the scientists and tell them that. You tell them, what will they tell us? They'll tell us simply, you are faith-based, that's all. You're just blind followers. So we cannot just present this. Sadhaputta Prabhu is saying the idea is that we defeat them on this basis of just this basis of existence, that, well, life comes from life. And then from that, we bring him to the level of, okay, what is the soul? Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Krishna. You must surrender to him. He says that, well, Sadhaputta Prabhu is just an amazing personality, actually. When I was listening to him, he says that the point of all of this scientist preaching is to bring him to the level of surrender. That is the point. But how will we do that? He said, well, it may not directly be possible because nobody's going to accept the Vedic axiom. It's not like we're not in, Prabhupada will often say in India, if you say this is a Vedic injunction, then people just accept, that's it. Or in the introduction to the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada says like that. And that somebody would ask, is this a Vedic injunction? Yes, okay, then I shall follow it. But it's not like that. Even somebody walks through the door, it takes a lot of convincing. So, but it requires a level of faith. Even the scientists have a lot of faith. Actually, we can expose them that you have more faith than us. Your whole philosophy and your life is based on faith, actually. That you cannot even see your theory working. Actually, you see contrary to your theory, and you still believe it. You see, everything in existence is an example of your theory being wrong. That life comes from matter. Because you can see in every example, anything and everything, life comes from life. You can see that. You are born by your father. It's very simple logic. It doesn't require much. And if you ever come up with a challenge with the university students who are very intelligent in terms of material knowledge, they've studied more than you, what are you going to do? You can't argue with them on the basis of quantum physics. It's just not practical. And also you may learn it, but then in a few years it changes. But actually what's amazing is Sadhaputta Prabhu's presentation of the origins on the 11 lectures on this Origins magazine has held up till now. Because he attacks that point. It's called the pain point. This is where they can't, you've got him by the throat, as Prabhupada said. You've really got them by the throat. What are you going to do now? And I've had that experience at universities. You don't let them go from that. You hold them there. Grab them, you hold them, you choke them up. You hold them there and then, they haven't thought about this very much. So they try to escape it, but you just hold it. No, you show me. You show me where life comes from life. And Prabhupada often say that you, the scientist, the chicken is a better scientist than you. That's one of Prabhupada's statements, that we shall show that the chicken is a better scientist than the scientists themselves. Because they cannot create life. Prabhupada said like that. Then you produce an egg and put it in some vacuum and make a baby chick come out. So that they cannot do that. So therefore the chicken is a better scientist than them. Prabhupada would humiliate them like that. Or once there's a lecture somewhere where he's talking to a scientist and said, I shall become your disciple and you become my guru and you shall teach me. In Melbourne, he says like this to one disciple. You know this? Have you come across this with Prabhu? I was just listening one day. I was trying to find it again and I just couldn't find it. But there was a conversation where Prabhupada is just like super heavy with this like scientist in Melbourne. So their knowledge is completely, the basis of their knowledge is completely off. Although they claim it to be not faith-based, it is completely faith-based. So one has to have a level of knowledge to be able to see that. Just like this, the atheists, they're bewildered by that. And you can see that. Moga asha moga karmano, moga jnana vichetasa, rakshashim asurim chaiva, prakriti mohinim shritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all destroyed. So those who are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views, they cannot come to a platform. It's hard for them to come to that platform because they're covered by the modes of material nature, by the illusory energy of the Lord, and therefore, and they want to enjoy. So, this idea of atheism allows you to do that, and there's different levels of enjoyment as you go up in the realm of religion. So even the atheists, their philosophy falls apart when we attack it. Then we have, step up from the atheists. Then we have, whatever, there may be the There's the Christians and the Muslims who preach the idea of God consciousness. Some level of God consciousness is there. But it is, again, if you examine that philosophy, it is not really based on any particular, on a basis of knowledge. It's just based on, this is what is said and we believe it. And if you question that belief, then it's anybody, there's a statement in the Bible, that anybody that convinces you with logic and reason is demoniac. It's a self-propagating philosophy. So we have a problem in our philosophy. It is flawed. And so in order to cover that flaw up, if anybody attacks it with logic and reason, then they are demons. They are Satan's workers. Then how do you establish knowledge? If you can't use logic and reason. If you can't, on at least the basis, some basic stuff of life. If you cannot determine that with logic and reason, then there's something wrong. And one who's foolish, who's attracted by demoniac and atheistic views, their culture of knowledge, their hopes of liberation, all of these things are defeated. Actually, although we call it religion, speaking in a Vedic perspective, this is atheism, because it falls outside of the realm of Vedas. The Christianity and all this, they believe in some idea of God, but Mukunda Datta Prabhu was saying that it falls under the characteristics of almost atheism, because it falls outside the realm of Vedic knowledge. So why is, we have these people who are attracted by that, and then, you see that they come to us and they argue so much and they want to know who we are, what we're doing, and tell us that we're going to hell forever, and that we're the demoniac society, and what we do is demoniac. The fact that we get up in the morning and worship God all day and only think about God, live our lives for God, as celibate, these are all demoniac things. So they cannot see because they're bewildered by the modes of material nature. They are under the illusory energy of the Lord. How does the Bhagavatam compare this? How does Bhagavatam say that such religions are? Has anybody read through the 11th canto? No. Anyone remember? You remember that? There's one particular verse that stuck out when I was reading the 11th canto. That these religions are like being in a dream and having a dream within a dream. So you wake up and you're still dreaming, but you think you've woken up. So the Bhagavatam compares to the modern religions, you could say, to that although they've seemingly woken up and understand some level of God consciousness, still they're an illusion. Why? Because of their idea that ultimately we're enjoyers. That hasn't changed. And that's the point the Bhagavad Gita is making. You are not the enjoyer. And that is the root cause of material existence. Without this idea becoming defeated, one cannot come to the level of theism. Because theism means surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But their idea is, I worship God for the sake of material enjoyment. That I shall go to heaven where heaven shall descend to earth. That's like a thing, right? The heaven shall descend to earth and I shall enjoy life with my family. What is it? Guru Maharaj was saying that. Somebody was saying that, I shall go to heaven and serve God for 100 years, then I'll enjoy by myself. So this is also a part of atheistic view. Atheistic view means that which is separate from God. Separation. We're separating. It's at different levels of that. But it's still a separate idea. That there's God, in atheistic idea, there's no, conception of God is there, but we reject Him. Still a conception of God is there, because without that conception, how can you reject God? So they have that conception, but they reject it. It's not completely out of the realm of it, because even the atheists prayed to God at the time of great difficulty. So that understanding is there, but they reject it. Whereas the so-called theists, they accept it on a little bit more. They're just higher on the spectrum. So on that spectrum, their view is still a demoniac. Why? Because they just want to enjoy separately from Krishna. Kartamiti manati, I'm the doer, I'm the enjoyer. Ishwaram aham bhogi, I want to enjoy. That mood is there, we see that in different traditions or religions. So it is not, and because of the fact that it's just based on mere faith, it's more sentimental than knowledge. You'll see that. Some of them are very learned in some basic things. But as soon as it comes to the point of understanding even what is the soul, what is this material nature, what is karma, what is reincarnation, all of these things are not explained, which are the basis of life. You should be able to explain those things. Why is this body different to that body? How are we different from this world? Why are we suffering? All of these things should be explained properly with logic and reason and understanding. So that is not given. That is not given in general religion. And is merely faith-based. And although Krishna consciousness is also based and deeply dependent on faith, that faith has a basis of knowledge to it. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't just stop explaining. When Arjuna says, you know what, I accept you as, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, I surrender unto you. I'm so sorry that I called you a friend, oh Yadava. I called you a Yadava, I called you my dear friend, Sakha. So, but Krishna doesn't go, okay, you surrendered, that's it. He says, no. He goes on. He said, Tachshir, listen carefully, O Arjuna. I'm explaining this to you. And then he makes sure, have you overcome your ignorance? If not, let me tell you this knowledge again. So, Krishna makes the point that, this is not just faith-based here. There's I'm giving you proper knowledge by which you can have realization. Because you could say other religions, they just want the realization without the basic knowledge almost. So of course, realization is more important, but it has to be on some basis of knowledge. Otherwise, it doesn't last so long. If one just goes on in Krishna consciousness without having some knowledge of Shastra, then we'll see that it often we mix it with so many of our own ideas. So it has to be based on what's our basis? Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So it is based on Shastra, which is not just faith, but gives us deep knowledge to make that faith stronger. Faith is the basis of, any, you could say religion, but Krishna consciousness means that faith has to be strengthened by this knowledge. And then one can go forward in his Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada here, he's making that point. He's making that point that those who have faith, they accept the Lord as He is, without any adulteration, without any misconception. They accept the Shastra because, why? One important point Prabhupada makes is that because the other great Acharyas have given this. They have attained perfection, as it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that so many others have attained perfection by this method. So we follow those Acharyas, particularly mentioned, including Sripad Shankaracharya, who is specifically the propagator of which philosophy? Mayavad philosophy. Shankaracharya is the propagator of this Mayavad philosophy. Even though but he makes the point, Bhaja Govinda, that worship Govinda, you fools. All the study you're doing, but simply worship Govinda. So, Srila Prabhupada makes that point here that one, Ashradhana Purusha, Dharmasyasya Parantapa, that one should, in that particular purport, it says that those who don't have faith, but one should have deep faith in Shastra. Why? Because, as it is being here said, that words of persons bewildered by illusory energy, we do not become shaken by that. Why? Because we understand these people are under the 4 defects. They function, their knowledge is on the level of the 4 defects. What are the 4 defects? Tendency to cheat, to be illusioned, and making mistakes. So everybody is conditioned by that. So any knowledge you take from that is under the illusory energy of the Lord. They're conditioned by it, so they will not be able to give proper knowledge. So even if they make some argument, it is going to be conditioned by something. There is some fault, or the basis of that knowledge is faulty, just like the scientists may be able to tell us this and that. But if their knowledge of the basic knowledge is completely faulty of what life is even about, then we shall not accept that knowledge. Therefore, one requires, in order to not be shaken also, requires to have knowledge of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, study of Krishna consciousness, what it is, why we're doing what we do, not just on the level of just believing, not just memorizing verses on the fact that, oh, I'll become some learned person or be looked at some great person, but actually understanding the knowledge. Why? Why is Krishna saying this? What is the basis of this knowledge? Why is this true? So one should question it, one should examine it, one should learn the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in order to be able to be determined in Krishna consciousness, not deviate the intelligence. We cannot deviate the intelligence for a second. It must be that we must use our minds, always must be engaged in the lotus feet of Krishna, because any moment that it is deviated, we can completely lose ourselves. It's a dangerous position to be in. So one must have deep faith that what we are doing is correct, and it is the highest thing, because it is able to establish that on the basis of logic, argument, and the fact that the Supreme Personality God is speaking it, but the fact that we can study it and defeat every other philosophy that comes about is a good indication that there is something there. We may not be fully convinced. That requires, working in devotional service, being revealed that also. It's not that by your own work you can develop that faith. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the reason we sang that song, he makes that point, that there are magnets of karma, jnana, and yoga. Yeah, amongst even though there's this Western religion, but then there's the karma mimamsa philosophy, the jnanis, and the yogis who also attract us in different ways. Buddha, with his philosophy of shunyavad, is very attractive. You see, practically most people, they're into Buddhism. Anybody that's spiritual, Buddhism is meant to be the so-called spiritual, but they don't even understand what the spirit is. That's a pretty big illusion, right? To think that Buddhism is spiritual, but then they don't even believe in the soul. And it's like, what kind of knowledge is this? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes this point, that they are magnets of karma, jnana, and yoga who specialize in opinions and proofs for cheating the materially inclined. Bhaktivinoda considers refuge at the feet of the Vaishnavas as essential, paying his respects to these cheating philosophers from afar. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes the point that one specifically takes the shelter of the Vaishnavas, taking the understanding that they give. Because, why? Because they're not materially inclined. They're not influenced by dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are false religions. These are false religion. This is defined, that religion which promotes these 4 things is defined as kaitava dharma in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one who is materially inclined, it's difficult for him to come to the platform of devotion, because generally he wants to enjoy and other religions allow that. Like this one person, although he didn't say it outright from the beginning when he had doubts about Krishna consciousness, I pointed out, actually this is all stupid. All of your arguments are dumb. I mean, anyways, what argument can you make from the Christian perspective against Krishna consciousness? You study, and if Vishnuchitta Prabhu, he's coming from a Brahmin family in South India, Tamil background. He said he read this Bible, and he's immediately, what the heck is this? He came and told me, he's like, this is what they study? This is what they do? This is their philosophy? He was shocked. He was like fried out. He's like, this is what they believe in? This is ridiculous. There's no taste in it. There's no rasa in it. He was shocked. Like, what is this? So yeah, but because, that person, you could say, is definitely some level of intelligence. They're not dumb. But influenced by the modes of material nature, pulled by the senses to try to enjoy in this world, one gives that up, which is actually reality, and accepts illusion willingly. Why? Because the senses pull us. That is the power of Maya, that is the power of the illusory energy. We give up truth willingly to accept untruth. How is this possible? You would think to yourself, when we see that in our life, when you see devotees leave devotional service, you think to yourself, how is that possible? How can you go away from Krishna consciousness? Or, one of the devotees said, bro, at least Christianity, at least you could have done, at least I would rather become an atheist. Because there's no philosophy. And even a fresh new bhakta who's been around for 2-3 weeks can defeat that philosophy. What to speak of, those devotees who are learned in Shastra, who are learned in the Bhagavad Gita. And you want to devote your life to God, what better way to do it than just give up all material attachments and surrender unto Him utterly? Who is doing that? With the attitude of love, with the attitude of no jnana karmadya anavritam, with no desire for any knowledge, no fruit of activities, nothing for oneself. Atma samarpan, completely throwing oneself at the lotus feet of Krishna. Who is doing that? So you want to surrender to God. The Krishna Consciousness Society is showing that. And so when people attack the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, we should be competent to defeat it. We should be confident. Let them come, let them come. Come, you can sit. We'll invite them, come sit. We're not scared. You can bring whatever argument you like. But we will argue on the basis of this. Whether you're atheist, life comes from life. If you're a Christian, there's simple things that we do also. You can come, you can bring your philosophy. Prabhupada says that in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that one who studies the Srimad Bhagavatam, he'll be able to defeat any atheistic philosophy and all other philosophies. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth for the benefit of humanity at large. It distinguishes reality from illusion. So it's available for those who are pure in heart, who want the real thing. If we want something, some feeling, then you can go so many other places. Like this person was saying, when I perform the process of Krishna consciousness, I don't feel anything. But when I just pray the way I want to God, then I feel so much in my heart. You want to feel, okay, sure. Feel so many things. Go ahead. But what is this? Prakrita, just material feelings. Not on the basis of what God wants, but what I want to feel. What I want to feel. Nobody cares for what Krishna feels. So one has to have deep faith in Krishna consciousness, that even though sometimes we may not be intelligent enough to defeat other philosophies. But what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? He said, he should consider refuge at the feet of the Vaishnavas as essential. That I shall always stay under the shelter of the Vaishnavas. I shall stay very far from these personalities. That they present so many bait here. Each expounds his particular view. dangling various pleasures and liberation as bait in their philosophical traps. They're all cheaters, averse to your devotion service, and thus fatally dangerous. That person who even before coming to devotion service was a vegetarian, now eats eggs. What is eggs? It's the, how do I say this correctly? What is the sign? When the chicken goes through its cycle, what is, I get it, anyways. Huh? It's period. Why do you, like, what's the scientific term for period? Menstrual cycle, that's what the egg is. This egg that doesn't produce, another living entity is just a menstrual cycle of a chicken. And that's what you're eating. From the platform of only taking prasadam to eating the menstrual cycle of a chicken. That's disgusting. The material energy makes us look like a fool, and we think we can enjoy. We'll look like fools. You want to enjoy, you want to be separate. We'll be fools, but if we can accept this fact of Krishna consciousness, if we can take shelter of the Vaishnavas, or constant shelter of the Vaishnavas, and present and we may have these doubts also, but we should present him with the idea of coming to the level of knowledge, destroying that level of ignorance in our lives. Because they are the shelter. Shelter means they're ready and prepared to give us proper guidance. So one should always remain fixed in devotional service, knowing that this is the highest knowledge that one can get in this world. We can say, well, isn't it similar to other people just believing what they believe? Yeah, in some level, but we're deeply invested in understanding this with proper knowledge. It's not just on the level of faith. It is on the level of establishing the life as it is as Krishna establishes, not the body, not the mind, not the intelligence, the soul. It defeats any other argument. You can also establish the topmost thing like that by defeating, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did. Like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, all our acharyas, they just defeated him. So we shall be able to also defeat these philosophies and always remain fixed, never deviate the intelligence, never think. Hopefully we can get to that platform of never thinking for a second that there is anything outside of this. Being completely fixed, having that one-pointed determination. What is that verse, that one-pointed determination? Huh? Yeah, but in the Bhagavatam. One-pointed attention. What am I forgetting? Yeah, I'm forgetting. But there's a particular one. Is that the one wants liberation? Akama. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. So one should develop that tivrena, that one-pointed attention. And by doing that, we'll see that, we become surrendered souls. We come to that platform of being a fully surrendered soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's the platform the surrendered souls are on. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter whether, things are going completely wrong, things are going completely great. In any situation, he's completely fixed. Tivrena Bhakti Yoga, and nothing is going to move him. Nothing can move him. Nothing can deviate him from his devotion and love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because it is a fact. It's a fact. It has become a fact in our lives, no longer based on belief or faith. It's just a fact. What do you mean faith? What is faith for a pure devotee? It's a fact. So this Krishna consciousness movement is a movement, as Prabhupada often says, is an educational movement that is giving us knowledge and by which we can surrender to Krishna fully. And defeat all this, understand who are the cheaters, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, that they're cheaters. They're dangling, each propounds this particular view, dangling various pleasures and liberations as bait. They are all cheaters. So we should we should be very careful. We should study Krishna consciousness, read Prabhupada's books, and give that to others. Give that pure understanding to others. And people will take it up. There's no doubt about it. People will take it up. Those who are sincere, those whose knowledge is not stolen by illusion. Those who are sincere, they'll take it up, and those few sincere people that take it up will perform great work. Even Prabhupada said, even if we can, in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada at the end of it, he says, even if we make one pure devotee out of this, I shall consider this to be completely successful. That is our mission, just to make one pure devotee. To make ourselves into pure devotees. And endeavor to make others by giving these books, by chanting Hare Krishna, teaching them to chant Hare Krishna, training them in the process of Krishna consciousness, the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Nimai, focus. So, Srila Prabhupada has given this knowledge specifically for us to do that, not just to sit here and read it. But you won't be able to have that deep level of faith until you go out and you start to meet people and see that, okay, I don't know so much, even about Krishna consciousness. And when you're pushed to study it, when you're pushed to use your intelligence, therefore Srila Prabhupada is sending us out. That there is, that we learn how to defeat other people, we learn how to establish Krishna consciousness as a fact. So therefore we're going out on book distribution. It gives us deep level of faith. It gives us deep level of realization of who Krishna is. So Srila Prabhupada's movement is, the books and the movement are non-different. It's the same thing. What's said in the books is what goes on in the movement. What Prabhupada is speaking about in the book is what you should experience, what you will experience. So, and I'm sure that that's the reason we're still practicing, is because we're reading and we're realizing some level. But we must base this realization on the study of scripture, the knowledge from the Guru, and shelter of the sadhus. So I'll end my class there. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Okay. Okay, he wants me to call. Okay, let me see here. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so this one, the quote here about in another place, he said that if you read the entire Bhagavatam with the word-for-word translation and the purport, you'll be able to defeat atheism all over the world.
Wow.
And then in another place, anyway. And then this, you were saying that the first step, when one comes is like Shraddha, right? But actually, in another place, I'm forgetting the Guru Swami or Krishna, they say that from sadhus you get Shraddha. So sadhu sangha is actually at the beginning of everything.
Yeah, that's there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, that you get, even the faith, there's two different kinds of sadhu sangha, or two different flavors of it, or something, where the first time, you just you meet the devotees and you somehow get a book, or you just find a book of Prabhupada and you get his association there. So it's from association of devotees that Shraddha comes. Then again, there's after that, I guess you associate with devotees more closely. That's how the and then they teach you bhajan and kriya. So that's there. And these origin lectures that you're saying you were going to give to the bhaktas, I think you should just give it to the whole temple. So maybe you can prepare for that and you can give that.
Okay.
Okay. All like that.
Thank you. Yeah. I have some physics background, so I was interested in that, and especially this devotee, one of the Brahmachari devotees, Brahmachari's brothers, he's coming around and he's a chemistry student who's doing a PhD, and he brought that to my attention, and it was like, that it was quite good. So we'll see if we can go through some of it, that'd be nice. Okay? Huh?
So the lecture you gave about the origin series was quite good?
No, not me. I didn't give a lecture yet. That Sadaputta Prabhu gave, the origin series, is really good.
Oh, he heard the lecture.
Yeah, he heard the lectures. So it is on the basis of science, so hopefully we'll be able to go through Any other questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Just a couple things. So one thing is, I was thinking also this verse is a nice verse too, in glorification of the Guru and Vaishnavas. I've only read that initially about that. One thing also, just thinking, you're talking about just like Christianity or whatever, specifically that, kind of like going back to that. It seems like most of the time, just what I've seen in general, just like in Krishna consciousness, that people, they fall back to their previous attachments, and there really isn't like much of a logical explanation or analysis of like the situation. And then that kind of brings back to like some discussions like in the Vedas sometimes of like Swabhav, and then that story is there. I forget all the details, but with the scorpion, it's like the scorpion's nature is like the sting. So it seems like for the most part, people sometimes they kind of just like fall back or whatever. And I think like most society is like that, but there really isn't much like intellectual like thinking about what I'm doing. And that's why that there's like brahminical culture and things, because people are, anyways, to kind of just be blunt about it, most people are like animals. So like they need to be like guided, and so therefore there was like Rajarishis and things like that to make sure that they were like guided like, properly. But I had one question. Well, I had a couple questions. But anyways, so just as far as, I just asked one. So you're talking just about like in the Bhagavatam things that like we have to like have that like focus and then stay focused and like that, don't get deviated. But for the most part, it seems like sometimes in Krishna consciousness, like period of just like focus, unfocus, focus, unfocus.
Yeah.
So just kind of like when you're focused, it's like everything's clear.
Yeah.
When you're unfocused, it's like exact opposite. So like, so kind of my question is that, okay, so like one is like unfocused, so then like in that situation everything's like difficult. So how to kind of like get back to that focus?
Guru Maharaj, this is often the question that Guru Maharaj is asked. It's like he makes just that graph that, yeah, you're gonna have your ups and downs, but as long as it's like that slope is positive, exactly, it's not going down but going up, then you're okay. Because yeah, it's just like, we've had experiences in living in a full-time, living with devotees full-time in association. Even amongst that, you go through so many difficulties and crisis of faith, lack of faith in our authorities, lack of faith in ourselves to practice, lack of faith in Shastra, pretty much like, you name it, you've gone through it, or you're about to go through it, whichever one. So, what I've seen is like Maharaj Prabhu was mentioning that's like the beginning, and that's what Chaitanya Charitamrita says is the beginning of devotional services, sadhus. So if we have that shelter of the sadhus, then I've seen in my life that you always end up okay. So like whatever difficulty and doubt you may have, if you always take shelter of a sadhu with that faith, like then you're okay. But like if we tend to like hide ourselves, hide our difficulties, and try to push forward, then generally it seems like what happens is you may get through that little period, but then a lot of it is still sitting there and comes up later because we're not able to cut it at its root. Whereas the sadhus, the Bhagavatam speaks about how they hold the sword and they dive in and they cut the root and cause of our issues, and they can see that. Those who are expert, they're expert at seeing that. So out of my personal experience and also according to Shastra, it seems that, even though there may be those blurry moments sometimes, if we just take shelter of that, of the sadhus, then we'll always end up fine because we're following the process. Even when we're struggling, we try to follow the advice of the sadhus as much as possible. Don't fry them out. Then we're good. Then we're okay. That's what I've seen. Because even if you're struggling, as long as the sadhus are happy with you. Because the sadhus aren't like, envious persons who are like, they understand your struggle to a great extent. They're paradukha dukhi, they look out for you, and they try to help you. Even sometimes we may go off badly, they still come and help us. But as long as we don't, obviously, betray their trust in all of these things, they don't get fried. Once the sadhus are fried out, then you're done. That's it. You kind of like, you did. then it's like a very grave situation to be in when they give up on you. But yeah, that's what I've seen in my own life, and I've seen that in the lives of other devotees who have struggled. They take shelter of a sadhu, and then all of a sudden they're heading in the positive direction at least. So it's like it's always good if we're struggling. Like we've done that also. It's certain devotees are struggling, then we immediately throw them under the shelter of a devotee. Just stay there. Just like be under him and be with him 24 hours a day. Don't have your separate program. And generally that tends to bring them back to the norm and help them push on. So we see that with, the specific case being Mahotsa Prabhu, that generally devotees travel with Mahotsa Prabhu sometimes if they're having some level of difficulty sometimes, and that generally gets them back because Shraddhavan, they give that faith. They have that faith and they can give that to us, they can grant that to us in our heart. And that's how we all got it. Like Guru Maharaj was making this point that if Srila Prabhupada just sent his books over, okay, Prabhupada, he says like this, they would have chanted Hare Krishna, because that's what the books say, and even now we see so many people chanting Hare Krishna. But to surrender to Krishna, to give up the to practice the four regular principles, to come to the level of becoming Brahmanically initiated, all of these things, it required that association of Srila Prabhupada. And he says, who could have done it? Even his own god brothers couldn't do that. Srila Prabhupada was so empowered that he initiated these so-called meleches into the Krishna consciousness movement, and he got them to do what the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur couldn't do. They went to England and established Krishna consciousness in an unprecedented way. They made Beatles into devotees, and then you just got thousands of people on the street chanting Hare Krishna, pulling Jagannath cart. Within a couple of years, it's like, whoa. Everybody's listening to their records, Radha Krishna records on the radio. There was that radio station guys just jamming it all night. It's like, it's so good. That's the power of Srila Prabhupada's deep faith in the holy name, and we were talking about this yesterday. And because Srila Prabhupada is more humble than the blade of grass, lower than a blade of grass, how Guru Maharaj gives this explanation, and it's such an amazing. I never thought about it this way, but his god brothers didn't want to touch those people. One of the god brothers said, I could have gone amongst those people and preached, and maybe it would have been successful, but they were too low for me. And even when Srila Prabhupada initiated these Western devotees into the line, they wouldn't take food from them, not even water, because in Vedic culture, you don't even take from a Chandala or a Shudra, you don't take anything they cook, anything they give you. But Prabhupada came amongst them, cooked for them, cleaned after their dirty dishes, put them in the trash can, sat amongst them, preached to them, was friendly with them, established Krishna consciousness in their hearts, and then made them into such stalwart devotees. It's unimaginable. So that's the power of association of a devotee. It's ridiculous, and we hear about that, but it's almost conceivable. But Srila Prabhupada showed that to us. He made, all of those disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, those sannyasis, and they're coming from decent backgrounds and grew up not really doing all of this sinful stuff these Western, they're a year ago these people are breaking all of the regular principles at once, and now they're practically on the level of Acharya is preaching Krishna consciousness in England, establishing that and making so many devotees. When what's Maharaj's name that went to England? Huh? No, sorry. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciple who went and came back without being able to do anything. No, the Swami Maharaj. He went? Ban Maharaj. So Ban Maharaj, he was mentioning him specifically. Guru Maharaj was mentioning him specifically that, that they, with all this background, with all of this scholarly knowledge, all of these knowledge of Shastra, they went and tried but couldn't do it. Srila Prabhupada was able to do it. He didn't even have to do it himself. He just empowered his own disciples to go and do it. Such a powerful personality. Why? Because a deep level of conviction in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. His own god brother said that he understood when Srila Prabhupada was taking sannyas, because they said stop the kirtan, but Prabhupada said no, keep it going. At that point, he said he understood that this personality will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world because he has implicit faith in the holy name. That's amazing. So, if we're struggling, then we take shelter of those sadhus, those who are qualified. It's the best, only thing we can do. We can get some mercy. Anything else? Mataji, anything else? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.